Welcome, welcome. Thank you, everybody. Listen, today we have an important update from the FMCSA. We're going to talk about their final ruling related to, independent dispatch, illegal freight brokering, and everything above. Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about today. This is an important update. If you're a freight broker, or you're a carrier, or you're an independent dispatcher, if you haven't heard the news yet, the FMCSA just came out with a ruling here late June, and you definitely want to know the details. I'm going to dive into it. I'm going to break it down. I'm going to go through all the details. And then at the end, we're going to do live Q&A, okay? We can talk about some questions related to that or other things related to Freight Broker Bootcamp. So thank you, everybody, for joining me. My name is Dennis Brown. If you're new to the stream, I do this free training every Monday at noon. I know it's Tuesday. Yesterday, unfortunately, I couldn't do it. But every Monday at noon, I do a live training and a live stream. So if you don't know me, again, my name is Dennis Brown. Been an entrepreneur for over 25 years. Been very blessed. Built 4 multi-million-dollar companies in 4 different industries. And started a freight brokerage back in 2003. Ended up doing over $200 million as a freight broker. And I'm now the owner of freightbrokerbootcamp.com, which is the most cost-effective and comprehensive online freight broker training program. We've had that since 2009. We've trained over 10,000 students, and we offer a 60-day, 100% unconditional money-back guarantee. So hold your questions, okay? We're getting some questions in the chat box. Hold your questions to the end because I will not see them later. You got to understand the feed goes really, really quick. So here's the agenda. We're going to go over the FMCSA update. We're going to talk about that on the front end. Then maybe we'll do a giveaway. And then probably we will definitely do live Q&A at the end, okay? So if we do a giveaway, maybe we'll do a Freightpreneur t-shirt, someone who solves problems you don't know you have in ways you can't understand. Maybe we'll do cash. We'll see how I feel at the time, okay? So hit me up in the comments. Let me know the city and state that your sound is down for LinkedIn. That's not good. Let me see what's going on here. You guys can't hear me. Can you hear me anywhere but LinkedIn, on YouTube, on Facebook? Can you guys hear me? Let me know if you guys can hear me. I hope that we're not having an issue. I tested the sound, tested everything. Sound is down for LinkedIn. Okay, so YouTube hears us, Facebook hears us. Okay, so that's got to be a LinkedIn issue. I apologize. If it's working on YouTube and Facebook, that's a good sign. I would suggest go into the email and click the link on the other platforms, and you can join me there. I apologize. I don't know what's going on with LinkedIn. Maybe it's just a bug on their end. So again, thank you so much, everybody, for joining me. Let me give a few shout outs, and then we'll jump right in. Okay. So we got Mark Neese from Pittsfield, Maine. Welcome. We've got, I apologize, but there's no way I can pronounce your name properly. We got a user from Istanbul. We've got Robert Blake. We've got Connor from Armenia. We got Elke from Olive Branch, Mississippi. We got Nextlinks from Valley Stream, New York. We've got Sean Fields from Bellhaven, North Carolina. Dennis Braylon from Columbia, South Carolina. We got Cat Moody. Welcome. Yeah, so everybody on YouTube and everybody there can hear me. We got 136 Logistics from Gulfport, Mississippi. We've got Vernetta from New Jersey. We've got Deshun Prater. Welcome, welcome. Mike Rogers from Atlanta, Georgia. Welcome. Ricardo from Laredo, Texas. Cat Moody from Orange County, California. Angel from PA. John Keith from Philadelphia. Nathan McKenzie from San Diego. We got people from all over the place. Listen, thank you so much for joining me. I truly appreciate it. Today, we are going to talk about the most recent FMC update. Issued their final ruling to shut down illegal brokering. Okay, so that's what we're going to go over today. So we're going to let a few more people get live, and then we're going to dive in. Again, if you're a broker, a carrier, or an independent dispatch, you're going to want to go into there because I'm actually going to break the article down in detail, okay? So I'm actually going to walk through their rulings, the final rulings that they've issued from the FMCSA. All right, so we're getting some people live. Latricia from Chicago, Dennis from the Ukraine, Romeo from Houston. Hi, Christina. How are you? Slava. That's what we're going to call him. Slava. I love it. That's a great nickname. All right, cool. All right, guys. So here's where we are at. This is the ruling. This is the article and the ruling that came down from the FMCSA. This is the FMCSA final ruling on truck brokerage definition now in effect. Actually, that's the wrong article. Let me pull the right article up here. Oh, sorry about that. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second, guys. Sorry. One sec, guys. Oh, no, this is actually the right article. I'm sorry. Okay, so let me pull this up. Sorry for the minor technical difficulty here. We'll get it fixed. No worries. Okay, so this article here, you can check it out at thetrucker.com in more detail. The FMCSA final ruling on truck brokerage definition now in effect. Okay, they issued their final ruling, which is designed to shut down illegal brokering. Okay, so let's talk about this really quick. Back in November of 2022, the FMCSA issued a preliminary guidance on dispatching versus independent dispatching versus brokering. As we all know, there's a lot of independent dispatch going on out there that is acting like brokers. So there is a right way to do dispatch and there's a wrong way to do dispatch. It does not mean that all dispatchers are doing it illegally or incorrectly, but they've issued some final guidelines and a final ruling on it. And so we're going to walk through that. In this article, they help define, some things like the definition of a broker, the definition of a bona fide agent, the role of a dispatch service. All right. So, they've went through and they've actually issued some very specific rulings and details and guidance on that. And so what you have to understand is this. If you are a broker who is also doing dispatch, this is important that you listen to this because you could be doing it illegally. And just so you know, illegally brokering loads as a dispatcher, okay, or operating outside of these guidelines could cost you $10,000 per occurrence. That's the civil penalty for doing it incorrectly, for not operating within the guidelines. So you got to understand, this is very important that you guys go over this and that you understand this. I think the most important part about this is we got to dive in to the factors indicating that a broker authority is not required. So what they did is they went through 9 points where a broker authority is not required, which means an independent dispatcher can operate properly within the confines of the law. Okay. So number one, the dispatch service has written legal contractual relationship with a motor carrier that clearly reflects the motor carrier is appointing the dispatch service as a licensed agent for the motor carrier. This is often a long-term contractual relationship. The written legal contract should specify the insurance and liability responsibilities of the dispatch service and the motor carrier. So basically what they're saying is you got to have a written agreement that defines the dispatch service as an agent of the carrier. All right. Number two, the dispatch service complies with all state licensing requirements if applicable. Right. Number three, The dispatch service goes through a broker to arrange for the transport of shipments for the motor carrier and does not seek or solicit shippers for freight. That means as a dispatch service, if you're an independent dispatch service, you cannot go direct to shippers. You can only get your loads from brokers. That is the guideline, okay? That was in the preliminary guidelines. It's in the final guidelines as well, okay? So number 4, the dispatch service does not provide billing or accept compensation from the broker, third-party logistics company, or factoring company, but instead receives compensation from the motor carrier based on predetermined written legal contractual agreements. That means that as an independent dispatch service, the only people that can compensate you is the carrier that you are booking the load for. You can't double dip, get paid by the carrier and also broker it and get paid by a factoring company or a broker. Okay, you can only be paid as an independent dispatcher. You can only be paid and compensated by the carrier you are operating for. Okay, number 5, the dispatch service is not an intermediary or involved in the financial transaction between a broker and the carrier, which means you don't do any billing, you don't do any collections, you don't do any of that, right? You are not part of the financial transaction. You are simply operating as an agent of the carrier, and it's the carrier's responsibility to communicate everything and pay and invoice and do all that directly through the broker and the carrier. Okay. Number 6, the dispatch service is an IRS 1099 recipient from the motor carrier or a W-2 employee of the motor carrier as specified in the legal contract. All right. So you can be either an employee or a contractor. Number 7, the dispatch service discloses that they are a dispatch service operating under agreement with a specific motor carrier, and the shipment is arranged for that motor carrier. Now, let's break this down a little bit. This is very important part of this ruling. This means that as a dispatcher, you cannot call on a load from a broker unless you have a specific carrier truck in mind that is specific to that load, which means you can't call a broker, let them say, hey, I've got a truck, and then you go out and try to find a truck that's either part of your dispatching service, so you already contracted, or a new carrier. You can't do that, okay? So you have to have a specific carrier in mind. You have to be operating for a specific carrier when you are calling on a specific broker load. This is very important because this is one of the things that I know a lot of dispatchers are not doing. They're acting as an independent dispatch, calling brokers, getting loads, and then trying to, on the other end, find carriers that will actually take those loads. That is one of the big definitions here. You have to make sure you're operating properly. Again, the fine and the penalty is up to $10,000 per occurrence. Okay. All right. Number 8. The dispatch service does not subsequently assign or arrange for the load to be carried or moved by another motor carrier, which means that you are not assigning this and you're not reallocating this to another carrier, right? Obviously, that kind of falls into the double brokering component, right? That's a form of that. Number 9, the dispatch service does not provide their service for a motor carrier unless the motor carrier specifically appointed the dispatch service as their agent in accordance with the aforementioned requirements, which means it's just more definition that you have to have a formal contractual relationship with the carrier before you solicit loads for that carrier or any carrier. Okay. All right. Now, we've talked about the factors that indicated that the broker authority is not required. Okay. So we talked about that a little bit. It's important, guys. You understand there's two sides to this. The ruling that they issued here, the final guidelines they've issued how to do it right and how to do it wrong. We're going to break into that. We're going to talk about that, where a broker authority is not required and a broker authority is required. Now, in this example, okay, a broker authority is required. So let's take a look at that. Factors indicating a broker authority is required. So if you are doing any of these things, you are acting as a broker. Okay. So, all right. So number 1, the dispatch service interacts or negotiates any shipment of freight directly with a shipper or a representative of a shipper. Okay, so what that means is as a dispatcher, you cannot go direct to shippers. I think I'd mentioned that before. You cannot solicit shippers direct. Your freight has to come directly from a broker. Okay? All right, number 2, the dispatch service accepts or takes compensation for a load from the broker or factoring company or is involved in any part of the monetary transaction between any of the entities. Again, you cannot be compensated by anybody but the carrier. Nobody else can compensate you as a dispatcher. Okay. Number 3, the dispatch service arranges for a shipment of freight for a motor carrier and there is no legal contract with the motor carrier. That means section 6E1 of the guidance above, which means, again, you have to have a formal contractual relationship where the carrier has authorized you as an agent of that carrier. It needs to be defined in a formal contract. All right. Number 4, the dispatch service accepts a shipment without a truck/carrier, then attempts to find a truck/carrier to move the shipment. Again, we talked about this before. If you are a dispatch service and you call a broker and you say, hey, I've got a truck for that, you have to let them know exactly which carrier and truck that you are calling for, right? In regards to, you cannot just blanket solicit that and then go out to 10 or 20 or 30 different carriers that you're operating for, that you're operating as a dispatcher for, and hope to fill that truck. That's the point of this, okay? So another thing that you're going to guys want to understand is one of the upcoming ones. So listen carefully. The dispatch service engages in allocation of traffic by accepting a shipment that could be transported by more than one carrier with which it has an agreement and assigns it to one of those carriers. Okay, so let me break this down for you. Let's say, for example, you have a dispatch contract with a carrier that has hired you specifically to find them hazmat loads. This was an example that they used, hazmat loads. You are not allowed to represent any other carriers that are specific to that other carrier's needs. So you couldn't have 2 carriers that both require hazmat loads, because that would be potentially a conflict of interest between the 2 if you are a dispatcher, right? So same thing goes. If you have a carrier that is asking you to find them flatbed loads, right? Or loads out of a specific geography, or van loads or heavy haul loads, you cannot have more than one carrier that's specific to that carrier's specific needs and reasons why they are hiring you. So you might be able to have a van carrier, you might be able to have, a flatbed carrier, you might be able to have a hazmat carrier. But what I want you to understand is you cannot have a whole stable of carriers that are operating and requesting the exact same thing. So you couldn't have 10 van carriers. By the definition that I've read in the rule, not from this article, from the actual guidelines that I looked at from the FMCSA, you could not have the same type of carrier that's requesting the same type of freight, because it becomes a conflict of interest. Now, this changes the entire dynamics for dispatching. And again, I'm going to say it again, it's a $10,000 fine per occurrence. Okay. So if you did this 10 times, that's potentially 10 times 10,000, which is 100,000. I mean, I'm not very good at math, but even I can do that. Okay. Number 6, the dispatch service is named the dispatch service is a named party on the shipper contract. You cannot do that. That means that you need a freight broker authority. Number 7, the dispatch service is soliciting to the open market of carriers for the purpose of transporting a freight shipment, which means you can't take a shipment from a broker and then post that on a load board and try to get a carrier, or you can't, blanket solicit carriers to try to find a carrier, because then at that point you're operating as a broker. Okay. Now guys, I know some of this is a little bit confusing. I know this gets a little bit confusing, but what I want you to understand, I'll make sure there's a link somewhere below the video or in the comments below where you guys can check out this article and check out the actual FMCSA ruling. This is more of a summary of the ruling, but I can tell you there's been a lot of discrepancy, a lot of debate, a lot of arguing about the legality and the proper way of doing independent dispatch. The fact is the FMCSA has come down with their final ruling. I think it was June 16th, just a few weeks ago, where they have now actually put this concrete on paper where everybody understands. So the thing is this, everybody needs to make adjustments. If you're a broker that's also dispatching, has a dispatch service, you're going to want to make sure that you're doing this properly. If you're a dispatcher that's not properly doing this, you're going to want to make adjustments, okay, to your business. It's a liability. If you're a carrier and you're using a dispatch service, here's the thing. You're going to want to make sure that they're complying and that contractually you are covered in the event that they don't. And here's why. Because here's the reality. Compliance is the challenge, right? Compliance is the challenge. And as a carrier, if you're using a dispatch service that is operating illegally, there could be damages, repercussions, or complications for you as the carrier. So be very careful as a carrier, the dispatch services that you are using, and be very careful as a broker, the dispatch services you are using. You need to make sure in both cases that you are vetting that dispatch service properly. Okay. So, and these are the guidelines, and I would absolutely positively follow these guidelines and make sure. Now, I have no skin in the game. I don't care if you're an independent dispatcher, a freight broker, or a carrier, as long as you're operating within the confines of the law. Now, the FMCSA finally brought in these final guidelines and these final rulings after many years of debate about independent dispatch. So here it is. There's no excuses anymore to start operating out of the confines of the law. Make the necessary adjustments that you need to make. Be careful as a carrier who you're doing business with when you're talking about independent dispatch. Be careful as a broker who you're doing business with as an independent dispatch, and use these guidelines as the framework of working with any independent dispatcher. So I hope that helped. Listen, I know it's a little bit confusing. I'll make sure the link is there for you guys to check out. And if you're curious about becoming a freight broker or a freight agent, you're just getting started and you're just trying to figure out the A to Z, check out freightbrokerbootcamp.com. Trained over 10,000 students. Had that program since 2009. I apologize. So it's been well over a decade now. Again, we've trained over 10,000 students, and we offer a 60-day, 100% unconditional money-back guarantee. So check that out at freightbrokerbootcamp.com. All right, cool. So, man, I feel like I was going 100 miles an hour. Maybe I guess I'm probably a little hyped up on caffeine. Have you guys ever heard of Killcliff? I just bought this. It's a new drink. It's a energy / CBD / I don't know, something else. It says hydrate, energize, focus. But in any event, yeah, I think I've got the jitters here from this thing. No, it's actually really good. But my energy is on like 10 right now. So it must be working. Hopefully I don't crash after this. Now listen, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do a quick giveaway. Okay. Let's do a Freightpreneur t-shirt giveaway, and then we'll jump into live Q&A. Hold your questions until after the giveaway. Then we'll do live Q&A. Okay. All right. So if you guys want a chance to, win the Freightpreneur t-shirt, here's all you got to do. I want you to go to, I'm going to pull it up for you. I want you to go to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/freightbrokers. You'll see my bald, shiny head. That is the URL. The URL is not Freight Broker Bootcamp. You can search Freight Broker Bootcamp on YouTube. I want you to go to my Freight Broker Bootcamp YouTube channel. That's all you got to do to qualify for the giveaway. Okay? Go to the channel and subscribe and click the all notifications bell. There's a little bell that'll pop up, all notifications, which will make sure you get notified every time I release a new training video. I put out new training videos every week. I do these lives every week, and that will make sure that you get notified, okay? Once you do that, subscribe to YouTube and click the all notifications bell. Come back into the comments and let me know you subscribed on YouTube and you click the all notifications bell. You got to let me know both of those things, and that will enter you into the contest for the free Freightpreneur t-shirt giveaway. Again, someone who solves problems you don't know you have in ways you can't understand. So go to the YouTube channel. We've got hundreds of free training videos there. You can't lose. There's tons of training there if you haven't checked that out already. I know many of you are watching from there right now. So if you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the all notifications button, come back in. Jeffrey, done isn't going to work. I need to know because I'm going to have so many people. You need to let me know. Subscribed and click the all notifications bell. Okay? Subscribed and click the all notifications bell. All right? So that's the only way, because you got to understand, I'm getting comments from different multiple platforms. They're flying through. And when I do the drawing and I land on it, I need to know exactly what it means. So I'm very specific about that. And if you guys don't say subscribe to YouTube, click the all notifications bell, I can't promise you that if I land on you, I'm going to give you the prize. That's the reality. Okay. I need to be fair. So everybody's doing it. Cool. Make sure that you guys subscribe, come back in. We'll give that a minute or two and then hang tight because we are going to do live Q&A. So we can talk about the dispatch, the ruling, the FMCSA ruling about illegal brokering. We can talk about anything related to freight broker, freight agent, entrepreneur, sales, whatever you want. I'll do my absolute best to try to answer any questions you have. If I don't have the answers, I'll try to direct you in the right, I'll put you in the right direction. Okay. All right. So we got a bunch of people that are subscribing. Hold tight on the questions. No questions yet because they're going to get lost and I will not be able to answer them. Hold tight. I'll let you know when I'm going to start doing the Q&A. Give it about another 30 seconds or so for people to get enrolled or to subscribe to YouTube for the contest. And then we'll go from there. Oh, by the way, man, I forgot this. You guys are going to want to check this out. Man, I don't know what I was thinking here. I should have done this. Oh, man. All right, we'll do both. Okay? All right, so listen, I'm going to pick one winner. I'm going to randomly scroll up, and I'm going to pick one winner of the Freightpreneur t-shirt, but then I have something else really important that you guys are going to want to check out. All right, so let me scroll up here. All right, boom, boom, boom. Close my eyes, randomly pick one winner. And the winner is Sean Fields. Subscribed and hit the all notifications bell. Congratulations, Sean. He's watching on YouTube. Here's all you got to do, Sean. You can either send me a message on LinkedIn or on the Freight Broker Bootcamp Facebook page and let me know that you won the YouTube Subscribe t-shirt giveaway. The YouTube Subscribe t-shirt giveaway. You got to give me your full name, your full mailing address, and your size. It's normal, unisex sizing. This is a large, right? I weigh about 195, 200 pounds. This is a large. So yeah, make sure that you send me that message with your name, your full address, your size, and that you won the YouTube Subscribe t-shirt giveaway. Okay. Congratulations, Sean. Once I get that, I'll process the t-shirt. You'll get it within a couple of weeks, but I've got great news. Who wants a chance? I forgot all about this. You guys want a chance to win $1,000 cash? $1,000 cash. Last week, I started a contest on my YouTube channel, or not on my YouTube channel. I apologize. On my TikTok channel. I'd been on TikTok kind of watching and just consuming content like most people, but recently I started putting some content out there on TikTok and I got a lot of great feedback from people. So I'm now running a contest. You can literally win. You'll have a chance to win $1,000 cash. Biggest giveaway I've ever done. One subscriber on TikTok is going to win $1,000 cash in the next 30 days. If you go to that URL, okay, sweepwidget.com/C/FBBC. Okay, I'm sorry, I don't have a better link for you. If you go there, it's going to bring you to a page that looks like, hold on, I'll show you. Boop. No, hold on. I'll show you really quick. It's going to bring you to a page that looks like this. Okay. And it talks about how I'm giving away $1,000. All you got to do is follow the simple steps. I mean, if you get a certain amount of points and a certain amount of entries for following me on TikTok, commenting on TikTok, and then I'm going to pick a random winner in 25 days. I'm going to pick a random winner, and that random winner. Oh, I didn't show you. Why didn't I? Here, Deuce. What a dummy. Okay, so here's what it is, right? So this is the giveaway page. You can see here, all you got to do is just follow the simple instructions, follow me on TikTok, comment on one of my TikTok videos, like my TikTok video, watch it. You're going to get points. And then what happens, you can see here, all the people with these points, these are entries in. The more points you have, the more entries you have into the contest to win the $1,000 giveaway. Okay. So if you guys go to that URL, sweepwidget.com/C/FBBC, you'll get a chance to possibly win $1,000 cash. Biggest prize I've ever given away. I totally forgot about that. I apologize for the confusion, but yeah, you can check that out. Again, 100% legit. I'll give away $1,000 to one subscriber in the next month. All you got to do is go to sweepwidget.com/C/FBBC. Okay. So cool. All right. Let's jump into Q&A. Elke, I know I saw your comment on TikTok. Thank you so much. Appreciate you joining me there. I'm going to put out some cool stuff there. Some of the stuff I put out there, you probably won't be able to get anywhere else because, TikTok has kind of its own format. So I will use some of the same content on different platforms, but I'm going to create some unique independent content that's only available on TikTok. So you definitely want to check that out. All right. So TBD asks, so what do you think the effects of this will be? It seems as if it will take a lot of dispatchers out of business if the rules are actually enforced. It's a good question. So you're asking, what will this new ruling and guidelines do that the FMCSA just brought down? And, no one's going to know for sure. The problem with the FMCSA, with carriers, with brokers, with independent dispatchers is compliance, right? So I think that they have laid out a very specific way that independent dispatchers can do it legally. And they've laid out a very specific way that independent dispatchers can do it illegally. And if you are illegally doing independent dispatch, you are acting as a freight broker without an authority, and that is punishable civilly by $10,000 per occurrence. That means, if you did 10 loads illegally or 100 loads illegally, that gets very expensive, and civilly you could be held responsible. Now, I don't know about the compliance component, right? Here's what I think is going to happen. I think now that these guidelines are put in play, I think what you're going to have is you're going to find a lot of brokers that are operating legally and a lot of independent dispatchers that are operating legally probably report other independent dispatchers that are not doing it legally. Okay. So you're probably going to have a lot of people that are reporting other people now that the guidelines are set down. But on the compliance side, it's not really a criminal fine, but it is punishable civilly. So it could get very, very expensive. Imagine if you were a dispatcher who had 10 trucks and you were dispatching outside of these guidelines, 20 loads a week for a year. You're talking about potentially millions of dollars in fines, which the government can come after you for. So there are now some teeth associated with it. There are now some definitions associated with it. So all I would tell you is if you are an independent dispatcher, be very, very careful. I don't want to see you get fined. I don't want to see you go out of business. But I also don't want you acting as a freight broker when you're not a freight broker. Okay. And if you're not following these guidelines, it means you are brokering loads as an unlicensed broker. Okay. So there's no more circumventing getting your broker authority and getting your bond and doing those things. It's been defined. Follow the directions. If you're a carrier, be very careful who you use for an independent dispatch because it could backlash onto you. You could be named in some sort of lawsuit if you're working with a dispatcher that's not doing it properly. And the same thing with freight brokers. Be careful the independent dispatchers you use. But compliance is yet to be found. There's always going to be people that are going to try to circumvent it. But I do think that this is a good step in the right direction. I'm glad that the FMCSA has finally taken a stance with their preliminary ruling in November and now a final ruling in June. And, the future is yet to be seen. Yeah. Fernandez Souza asks, what is the proper way to do dispatching and freight brokerage at the same time? Well, the proper way to do it would be, in my opinion, and again, I've never done dispatch. Dispatch is not my thing. I've always been a broker. I teach people how to do brokering and agents. I don't teach people dispatch. But in my eyes, you would have two different entities. You'd have an entity, an LLC that did brokering, that had their broker authority. And then you'd have a separate, different entity that would do dispatch. Okay. And the dispatch would operate as a different entity and would have a different LLC and would have contracts with carriers and would operate separately from the brokerage. I don't think you want to intertwine them. You want to have two different businesses. Okay. Now you can operate both as long as a broker, you're operating within the confines of the law for brokers, and as long as you're operating within the guidelines as an independent dispatcher. So that would be the easiest, cleanest way to keep everything separate. I think if you try to operate an independent dispatch under one business name, it's going to get very confusing, and it could put you in a compromising position, in the event that a carrier or a shipper or a broker doesn't know what hat you're wearing at any given time. So I think the cleanest way to do that would be two different entities, operate within these guidelines, and I think you'll be all right. Okay, so Facebook user says, we have a trucking company already. We also have an LLC. What's the next step for us to become a freight broker or freight agent? Okay, so if you have a trucking company and that trucking company is inside of an LLC, you're probably going to want to set up another LLC for the brokerage, because you're probably going to want to separate those two entities for the same reasons that we talked about just a minute ago for the dispatch. The other reason why I see a lot of carriers who start a brokerage setting up a separate LLC, say it's ABC Trucking, now you do ABC Logistics and Trucking, right? Something like that. So it's very similar. But the reason why is because what I've heard is that in the event that you set up a brokerage under the same LLC as your MC number, your carrier MC, it can impact your carrier insurance rates. I have had carriers that came back to me and said their insurance went way up. So you're probably going to want to set up two different LLCs and operate them separately. But again, they can be very similar: ABC Trucking and Logistics, right? Something along those lines. So there's a lot of synergy there, so that you can market both of those simultaneously. So I hope that helps. And then once you have that set up, you're going to want to get trained on the freight broker side, right? Just because you're a carrier doesn't mean you know how to broker loads. You definitely know how to pick up loads and deliver loads on time, but you don't know the brokering side. So for that, you definitely want to check out some sort of training, either online training or classroom training, something like that. For me, it's Freight Broker Bootcamp. It's all online. It's the most cost-effective and comprehensive way for new freight brokers to get started, even if you are a carrier. I'd say a third or more of my students are already drivers or carriers when they join Freight Broker Bootcamp to set up their broker authority. So I hope that helps. Yeah, Luke says, how will the FMC enforce the new rules? It's like anything else. I don't know exactly how they're going to enforce it, right? How does anybody enforce anything? Again, these are mainly civil penalties. So I think a lot of these, I think a lot of this is going to come down to further budgeting, further allocation of resources. I think the first step was the preliminary ruling. The next step was the final ruling, and now they're going to work on the compliance side. And I wouldn't be surprised that in the next 3 to 6 months, they issue a statement about how compliance is going to take place. In the meantime, get your ducks in a row, dot all your I's, cross your T's. If you're operating as a dispatch, that's great. Follow the rules, right? And again, those rules are very specific. So that means they're looking for people that are not following the rules. They're going to give you a little bit of a grace period here, probably, to get your ducks in a row. But after a certain amount of time, it's $10,000 per occurrence if you're operating as a broker without authority. Okay. Okay. So as a freight broker, I would only be able to broker one load out to that box truck and then find another dispatcher who has another box truck if I need two trucks the same day. Let me read that again. So as a broker, I would only be able to broker one load out to that box truck and then find another dispatcher who has another box truck if I need two trucks the same day at the same time. Okay, so you're referring to how the rule came down that dispatchers cannot serve and operate two different carriers with the same requirements. So yes, if a dispatcher had a contract with a carrier to specifically find them box trucks loads, they would not be able to have another carrier that was asking them to get box trucks loads, because it would be a conflict of interest, right? At that point, they would have to make a decision, right? Which one they're going to give it to. And that goes against the FMCSA guidelines. So yeah, if you're a broker and you call a dispatcher, and that dispatcher, your scenario, your assumptions are correct based upon my interpretation of the guidelines. Robert, I think some areas are slow. I think other areas are not. I have students that are having record months, and I have other students that are down 20, 30%. I think a lot of it depends upon the diversification of your business, how many different customers you have and how diverse you are. I think a lot of it depends upon the niche you're in, the geography you're in, right? How full your sales funnel was prior to the dip in tonnage, how competitive you are rate-wise. There's a lot of variables out there. But here's the reality. Even though everybody's saying the freight tonnage is down, it's down compared to a record peak in 2022, 21 and 22, right? So we had record tonnage of freight. So when you're down from a record, if you look back 5 years or 10 years, we're still higher than we were at that point. And people were making a lot of money back then. So it's all relative, right? The media loves to show these headlines of how, it's doom and gloom. Yeah, tonnage is down from the peak, right? That heyday of, all the carriers and brokers coming in and freight being everywhere, it's back to normal. This is normal operating procedure in trucking and logistics. Markets go up, markets go down. Fuel goes up, fuel goes down. If you're going to have a sustainable business, you need to be able to make money in any market, up or down, right? That's the reason why I actually put together, one of the reasons I put together the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator program, which I'm in the middle of the last cohort right now, which is a 5-week, Freight Broker Sales coaching program. So that's where I take this piece of my brain and I teach everything I know to you about freight broker sales, systems, strategies, tactics, tools. I put it into an entire system, A to Z, that you can follow. And you can get on the wait list. It's closed right now. It's sold out. But if you want to get on the wait list for the next cohort, that'll probably open up in the next 3 to 6 months, you can go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com/waitlist. It's absolutely free to join the wait list. The program is not free. It's not inexpensive. It's not cheap. But it's worth every penny plus 10x. Okay. So here's what I can tell you. Get on the wait list, freightbrokerbootcamp.com/waitlist. It's absolutely free. And you'll be the first to get notified. If you're not on the wait list, you'll have zero chance to be able to get enrolled because it sells out usually within a few days. Okay. Let's go back to questions. Jeffrey asks, I'm just starting boot camp. Are there tests on the information you learn? Now, we do not have a final exam. There is no certification. There is no testing involved in becoming a freight broker, but at a state level or a federal level. Okay. Now, you can quiz yourself on the information. We may add some quizzes or some tests to the Freight Broker Bootcamp curriculum down the road. We haven't at this point. But we probably should. We probably will in the future. But right now there's no test, but all the information is there. Everything you need from A to Z, right? And you can access it at your own pace, right? You can take this program at your own pace. Most people complete the training in about 4 to 8 hours over a 2 to 4 week period. But I've had students that have taken months to go through the program because their time doesn't fit into a classroom setting, right? They don't want to travel. They don't want to jump on a plane. They don't want to have to make a call every day at 10 a.m. They want to be able to do it at their own convenience. And that's one of the big benefits of freightbrokerbootcamp.com. You can consume it at your own pace. So hope that helps. Laretha, what's the best way to vet carriers and brokers and dispatchers? Well, as a broker, I teach from the broker's perspective. So vetting carriers, vetting dispatchers. Vetting a carrier as a broker, got to make sure the key components is this. You got to make sure they have a broker or a carrier authority. So you check that out with the FMCSA. You got to make sure they have the proper active insurance, liability, and cargo insurance, right? You also have to make sure you want to check their safety history. You're going to want to check their safety profile and make sure they're operating safely. You're going to want to have a contract with them, a broker carrier contract that's signed where everything is defined. You're going to want to probably check maybe Carrier 411 Freight Guard or the TIA Watchdog or any other sites to make sure that that carrier is not double brokering or that there's not any major issues that other brokers have reported, right? To make sure that they're not, they're making, do everything legit. So that's how you, the basic steps on how you would vet a carrier. Okay. Now I can't go into an entire training on it right now, but those are the basic steps. As far as vetting a dispatcher, you would want to follow the guidelines that we just defined, right? You'd want to make sure to ask the proper questions and make sure you dot your I's and cross your T's. You know, if you got to make sure that they have a contract with every carrier that they represent, that it's specific to those guidelines, right? So you're going to want to make sure. That's the reason why this training is so, this episode, this live is so important for brokers and for carriers, because more importantly than brokers vetting carriers right now, carriers have to vet independent dispatchers more thoroughly, and brokers need to vet independent dispatchers more thoroughly. Maybe I'll come out with a training or, you know, some future training on how to vet dispatchers down the road, because we're just doing this now. The ruling just came out a few weeks ago. So maybe I'll put something together for that. But right now I don't have anything formal, but I'll probably put something together as far as a blueprint or a step-by-step or a guideline or maybe even a video training. So good question. Luke asks, at what point is a carrier considered a 1099 contractor? So are you talking about if you're a broker? I mean, I'm not sure. You have to give me more color to that, right? Are you operating as a carrier, operating as a broker? Are you operating as again, I'm not a lawyer, but if you can clarify the question, I might be able to help a little bit. Do you think this hurts equally both brokers and dispatchers? If everyone runs to brokers, then will that change the market all over again with new regulations as well? I don't think this hurts brokers. I think that this prevents dispatchers from operating as brokers without an authority illegally. Okay, so I think that's the primary goal of the FMCSA, is to prevent independent contractors from operating as an unauthorized, unlicensed broker. There have been lots of different ways that independent dispatchers have circumvented the system. They're trying to plug those holes to protect brokers and to protect carriers and to protect shippers. Okay? So I don't think it's going to hurt brokers. I think what's going to happen is the market is going to make adjustments. It's really not going to impact shippers much. Probably the biggest people it's going to impact is carriers, right? Because carriers have some serious liability, in my opinion, if they are working with a dispatcher that is not meeting the FMCSA guidelines. I think there's some repercussions there. I think there's some risk there. I think there's some potential, downside there for the carriers if they're not working with a independent dispatcher that's operating properly. Just like if they were operating with a broker that didn't have their authority. So let's say, for example, if a carrier did business with a broker, right? And that person was representing themselves as a broker and they didn't have an authority, right? And that carrier took that load and there was an issue with that load. That carrier is going to be liable because carriers have to vet brokers just as much as brokers have to vet carriers. Now the carriers have to vet the dispatchers better based upon these guidelines. So I think the biggest impact is to carriers So I think brokers are going to be the least impacted on this, but yeah, I'm sure there could be some impact. Let me see. Do you provide a template for carrier packet? We provide a training that shows how to create a carrier packet, but it's not specifically a template for the carrier packet, right? You can find those anywhere online. The best template for a carrier packet is to find a carrier packet from somebody who's a carrier or a broker, right? And find somebody who's already using it and use that as a template. So we used real life examples in the training to show you what to include, how to include it, what it looks like. So hope that helps. Yeah, that's a good point. Dispatchers will not identify themselves as a dispatcher. They'll identify themselves as a carrier or with the MC number. Correct. When a dispatcher contacts a broker about a load that's on a load board, they should be representing themselves as an extension of the carrier that they're calling on that load for, not as an independent dispatch firm. So good point. That changes the way dispatchers are able to do business, right? Because otherwise, there's a lot of gray area there where they're operating as brokers. Oh yeah, Elke says inside the Freight Broker Bootcamp paid members Facebook group, there's a template in there. So there is inside there. So yeah, so you can get access to the template. Thank you, Elke. Thank you for clarifying that. Do I think it's a good time to become a broker if you have 3 to 4 months of living and business expenses saved? I don't know you personally. I don't know your history. I know me, if I were to start now and I had 3 or 4 months of living expenses and I started my brokerage, I wouldn't have any issue. I know students that started 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 months ago that now have a lot of positive cash flow, right? That are doing well. I can't tell you what's right for you. I don't think that would be right for me to tell you. Here's what I could tell you, that like every up and downturn in every market, you want to be in the position for the market to recover. So if you try to guess the bottom, it's kind of like trying to buy stocks, right? You're trying to predict, when the stock is going to go down or when the stock is going to go up. It's almost impossible to predict that. Here's what I could tell you. If you have everything in place that you need to have in place and you develop the skills that you need to develop before the market starts to turn again, then you're in the best position possible. That's what I can tell you. But if the market turns and then you're trying to develop your skills and it takes you another 6 months to do that, then that could be a problem. What I'm happy to hear is that you said you've already kind of budgeted for living expenses and business expenses for 3 to 4 months. And again, I think that I teach, you would probably want to have somewhere between 3 and 6 months of those types of expenses, ready to go, because you're not going to make the odds of you starting month one and making $5,000 or $10,000 in profit month one are very slim. I mean, I have lots of students that do it, but statistically speaking, most won't. It may take you 2 or 3 or 4 months. I had an interview with a student not long ago. It took them 4 months to get their first customer. And then in the next 3 months, they did over, what they do? They were doing over $100,000 a month in sales after that, within 3 months after their first customer. But it took them 4 months to get their first customer. The cool part about the brokerage business, and I say this over and over and over again, so I apologize if you've heard this. The cool part about the brokerage business is you don't need hundreds or thousands of customers to make a 6-figure income. You really need between 5 and 10 customers. The small to medium-sized customers. I'm not talking about Pepsi or US Steel or Unilever or any of the big companies. I'm talking about small to medium shippers. If you have 5 to 10 shippers that you have a good relationship with and that you are moving freight consistently, 1 or 2 or 3 loads a week, right? Not gangbusters. You can make a 6-figure income with a small handful of customers. That's the cool part about it. Most businesses, you can't say that. Okay. If you're in the real estate business, you can't say that. If you're in the insurance business, you can't say that. If you're in the restaurant business, you can't say that. You need hundreds and even thousands of customers in order to make a 6-figure income, but not in brokerage. Okay. So I hope that helps. Leonard asks, in your accelerator course, do you teach how to scale up? Well, I'm not sure what you mean by scale up. I teach how to, sales is a function of scaling. So I teach systems on how to scale your sales efforts, but I don't teach marketing in that program. Okay. I teach everything about the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator is specific to how to get shippers, freight broker sales strategies, tactics, tools, and my entire system around selling and getting customers. So that's the customer interfacing component of getting shippers. That's where people struggle the most. It's not marketing or growth acceleration or oriented in those directions. It's not about paid advertising. It's not about specifically about the agent business model. It's about sales. It's about how to get customers, from mindset to filling your funnel to follow up and overcoming objections and closing to referrals and, customer development and retention, leveraging technology. There's a whole bunch of modules in there, including lesson after lesson after lesson, all video driven, that teach you that it's where I take that piece of my brain and I put it down. And it took me over 100 hours personally to create the course, 100 hours to create that course. Okay. It's a lot of time in shooting videos and editing videos and putting it all together. It took me a really long time to convince myself to do it because it was such a painstaking undertaking. And I also spend an enormous amount of time in the coaching program. We do 5 live calls once a week. Those calls average between an hour and 2 hours, where I work specifically with the students in that group. And so, yeah. So if you guys want to be a part of the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator, got to get on the wait list. freightbrokerbootcamp.com/waitlist. You can get on there. It's absolutely free to get on the wait list. And again, that cohort is sold out. It won't reopen for several months, but at least you'll be the first to be notified when it does. So get on that wait list. All right. So we're running long here. Okay. So let's see. I'm going to wrap up any final questions. Okay, so Jeffrey asks, what's the best way to keep the information from bootcamp after finishing the course? Okay, well, some of the information is not designed for you to be able to keep. It's online only. Some of the information is downloadable, like the contracts, the forms, all of that stuff. All the stuff that is downloadable, you can take with you. All the stuff that's not downloadable is specifically not downloadable for a reason, right? We don't want people downloading it and using it for other purposes, right? Protect our copyright. Plus, we provide an online education service, so we want to continue that online education service, right? So if you are a gold member, you get 1 year full access, okay? As a gold member, it starts at $185. One time, not monthly, one time. If you want to be a platinum lifetime user, right, where you get lifetime access to all the information, you'll never have to worry about it. It's only $389, and that's a one-time payment. So listen, I have been told time and time again, I need to double or triple the prices of the program. I haven't done it. Okay. Matter of fact, since 2009, I've only increased the price of the program one time. Since 2009. Okay. I think I've only increased the program one time. Now, I can't promise you I won't in the future, but right now I haven't. But if you want to be a gold member, you get 1 full year of access plus a full year of online support, $185. If you want to be a platinum, lifetime access, lifetime support, which is definitely the best bang for your buck, it's only $389 one time. And you can go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com and check that out. So I hope that helps. Okay, guys, listen, thank you so much for being here. I know I was really kind of hyped up and going through this training really fast. I'll create an edited down version. And again, you guys can check that on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe. Oh, by the way, for those of you that have not entered the contest to win $1,000 cash, here it is one more time before I go. sweepwidget.com/C/FBBC will bring you to the page with all the details. Okay, let me share it with you. Okay, it'll bring you to this page with all the details, and you can see exactly what you need to do. If you're on TikTok, this will be super easy. If you want to join TikTok, you can join TikTok and do it. Joining TikTok's free. Again, I'm putting now all kinds of content here. Let me see. Let me show you my TikTok here really quick. All right. So you can see here. Let me show you the TikTok. This is my TikTok channel right here. And you can see all the trainings that I'm putting out here. These are most of these are trainings. Okay. There's some unique specific content that I'm creating. There's trainings that are specific to only YouTube. Others are stuff that I also have on my Facebook channel and my YouTube channel. But if you guys want to be enrolled, you just check out if you want to have a chance to win the $1,000 cash. One lucky subscriber is going to win that in the next month. Just go to sweepwidget.com/C/FBBC and you'll get a chance to win. Appreciate you guys being here. Have an awesome week. And we will talk to you next Monday at noon with another Freight Broker Bootcamp Live. Thanks all.